Yes, so welcome back. I did promise you just after the video I dropped recently, just the video before this one, that I'm going to come to talk about myself, and that is the task the teachers would be doing. So you'll be seeing more of the videos of the nominated teachers for the various Christian Education Media Teachers Award doing this. So talking about how and why we got into the teaching profession. What is the motivation? For me, I got into the teaching profession. I think it's by birth, it's by instinct, if you like. Before training came into the scene, it's actually something that I discovered that naturally, when I talk to people, when I explain things to people, they understand. I could remember back then in secondary school, after our teachers teach, I have my colleagues, my classmates who come around me just to explain the same thing my teachers have already explained. I could recall back in the university days when I would go to the hostel, and then I have my friends, my classmates come to my hostel, my lodge, and then try to ask me the same thing we learned in the classroom, and the explanation goes, and I discover that it's inborn back then. And then after school, I still get people who call me. Now the beautiful thing is that over time, I read books. I developed myself, I developed my capacity in teaching, and then looking at how to be more effective, look at learning difference, took a lot of courses, both online and offline, to actually improve my passion in order to impact life. And today, even though I'm not actually in the classroom, but every now and then I get people who have one special issue or the other. And interestingly, I will shock you, I teach both science and art thanks to expansion and reading. So there's no limit to what you can do as a teacher. So teaching for me is passion. And when you talk about those who motivated me, I would never cease to talk about, anytime I talk about teaching, I would remember Mr. Prof. Mr. Prof was my teacher in Lagos Jonah Ideal Primary School. Then when I was in primary 5, Mr. Prof is an astute disciplinarian, and then very disciplined, and he taught us a lot of things. One thing I could remember Mr. Prof for is the fact that some of the things he taught me in primary 5, I saw them in SS1. Amazing, right? That is a visionary teacher who saw beyond and prepared us ahead. I could remember when we took our common entrance. Some people were just busy around, but those of us from my school, we are so confident of what we were taught and we're ready to kill it. Yet another teacher I would always remember is Mr. Adebayo. Mr. Adebayo was my teacher, interestingly, here in the FCT, Nigeria, Abuja. My chemistry teacher, Mr. Adebayo, back then in secondary school, I would never forget him. You know, Mr. Adebayo would call me the big head, and he's a passionate teacher, and he took us through the rudiments of chemistry. He loves teaching. I saw in him one man who has so much concern and depth. You know, he had a lot of textbooks he consults when he teaches, so, and he's good at it. So Mr. Adeboye, I give it up to him. Another teacher that motivates me a lot when you talk about someone who teach passionately, you will never forget Mr. Patrick Dikedi. Mr. Patrick Dikedi was my physics teacher when I was in SS1 back then in secondary school, and Mr. Patrick is an experimental teacher. He explores a lot, and then he helps us as students to explore and expand. Mr. Patrick taught us not to limit our learning to what we have around the textbook. These teachers, I can go on and on. These are my motivation. And today, as an entrepreneur, a media entrepreneur, passionately dying hard for the education system, especially what we have in Africa. That is the reason why we gave birth to Christian Education Media, passionate organization doing only media things, and our focus is to ensure that education media is taken to a next level. We give education a voice. So watch out for the videos of our nominees as they tell you more about how passionate they are and how they came into the teaching profession. I hope you enjoy this award program. My name remains Chuks. See you.